how the organizational architecture is there essentially to assist an organization in giving life to their strategic plan. So the focus all the time is to make sure that we put those elements in place that allow the plan to actually unfold into strategic action. So the kinds of things that we have, always policies and procedures. We spoke about policies and procedures, policies as formalized guidelines, defining the sort of parameters of decision-making, procedures, assisting essentially to deal with day-to-day issues so that we don't have to recreate a process every time something happens. There are a couple of policies we have to deal with. Prescriptive policies, an example of that, and it's worth writing this down, will always be your disciplinary code, very prescriptive. You will have prescriptive policies in terms of supply chain, in terms of finance, in terms of placing orders in an organization. As I said, it's about consistency. So in order to, from a financial perspective, stay in line with the actual Companies Act and changes around governance, we need that consistency. We need people to consistently interpret the rules and apply the rules. And then it creates the culture. We've spoken about what an organization does when it sets its vision and mission statement is that nowadays we set a separate value statement. That value statement essentially is what the ideal culture is. The appropriate culture is reflected in that value statement. But what we do through systems of reward and punishment is we then embed that culture in the organization. So it becomes part of the way we do things around here. You'll hear in organizations people talk about the stated culture versus the real culture. The stated culture is the value statement. The real culture is what actually happens on a day-to-day basis. Now, in order to make the stated culture completely in line with the real culture, we need these systems and procedures and policies that promote the idea of these are the kinds of behaviors that you're allowed to display. These are the behaviors we would like you to avoid. And then, yeah, the idea of knowledge, skills, and abilities. I think we talk about competencies. It's the iceberg effect, and I'm not sure that I've shared this with you before, but when we see people do their work, when you see Cheryl in action, the bit that you see in terms of Cheryl in action is like the bit of the iceberg that sticks out the top. And what you don't see are the KSAs that essentially are foundational to that bit of iceberg that sticks out. So when we think of competencies, we think of the idea of performing a specific task within a specific set of guidelines, displaying appropriate skills, displaying appropriate competencies, showing your talent, allowing opportunities for your contribution to shine in terms of getting the organization to the vision. So the thing that sticks out will always be the competency. It is behavior in action within a particular context. So Cheryl lecturing finance is her behavior in action in a particular context. What allows Cheryl to lecture finance would be the knowledge that she has, would be her lecturing skills, would be her abilities. What we've also seen in terms of more modern interpretations of this is that we also look at orientation, which is your attitude, and we look at personality. And personality is an important part. So when I sit here lecturing, you see that bit that sticks out the top. You see the bit of competency, the ability to translate quite theoretical concepts into something that's workable. But what makes me do this is the foundational stuff at the bottom, the bottom part of the iceberg. So these KSAs essentially are there to make the organization work, are there to support the organization's plans. when we look at the KSAs, the basic ones, essentially these are the ones that maintain the organization. So you could always imagine that just the ability to read, write, and do basic math and do basic elements of your job, these are the non-negotiables. Without these, you don't even get past the interview. So the non-negotiables that get you into your job. We then also look at specific KSAs, and these are those that relate to the company's mission statement or the core business as reflected in the mission statement. These are the kinds of computer programming skills that you have in order to work for Google. These are the kinds of programming skills that Google would use to provide us with the buffet of products that they make available. If you're an accounting firm, it is your ability to do a set of books, interpret results, etc. That is core to the business. If you're a financial advisor, the KSAs that are core to the business is understanding the products, understanding how those products affect people's lives. The thing that makes an organization stand out from the crowd is the set of distinctive competencies. And I like those words, unique, superior, and it's stuff that our competitors don't have. And when we think of Google, they have people with distinctive competencies. They have individuals that are able, because of being in a knowledge economy, to use the brain power that they have to make a significant difference in people's lives. And those distinctive competencies are the things that your competitors don't have. Apple's ability to innovate and keep pushing the boundaries of technology. It's Samsung's ability to forward and drive technology into the future, stuff that your competitors don't have. So if we then also look at some of the other elements that are non-negotiable technologies, I think the simple truth is we use science technology on a daily basis, whether we use a basic computer program or higher order computer programs that run AIs to detect potential water leaks in a system in the Thames River. Those are the kinds of technologies that we have. There's nothing dramatic about these. Each of these would have this just to survive your studies. You need office technologies, whether it's a desktop or a laptop. I don't think people have desktops anymore. I only think people who are serious gamers have desktops. But yeah, generally I only work on my laptop. And then service technologies, essentially these are the things that allow us to interact better with our customers. So if you go through checkers, it's the speed at which they can scan and get you through the till, because it's part of looking after your customers' interests. Manufacturing technologies, this is what my wife uses. My wife designs house plans, factory plans, and things like that using computer-aided drafting. But we've seen computer-aided drafting now used in every technology, in every field, in every industry, including car design, and you can let your imaginations run in terms of what you could do with computer-aided technology. So the truth is, what companies try and do is they become a technology leader. It's one of those things that essentially becomes important in terms of keeping your innovation levels at the right pace, because you have to keep outpacing your competitors. And the kinds of things that you have: increased market share and higher profits. Look at how Samsung and Apple dominate the mobile device market. It's the technologies that they have. The second one, it allows you to then stay ahead in terms of technologies, because if you're at the cusp of technology, it's easier to stay at the cusp. And obviously what then happens from a supplier perspective, you make sure that your suppliers have those technologies as well. And then just I did start on slide 32, didn't I? Okay, sorry, I'm catching up with messages. Right, and then also the idea of attracting customers who want state-of-the-art technologies. I think there are people here who always have the latest phone, who can't wait for the latest phone, who can't move between 12 and 13 or whatever the heck the number Apple is on at the moment. I'm not that kind of person, but I like technology. I certainly like to be sort of a step behind the latest tech. So, for example, I've not moved across to Windows 11 yet because Windows 11 is still glitchy, whereas the IT guys at Varsity College have already moved across to Windows 11. Can I see who else is on Windows 11? Anyone on the call on Windows 11? All Windows 10 still. Yeah, I've been told not to move to 11. It'll frustrate me, and it's going to take a bit of getting used to, and with how busy I am and with the number of programs that I have to integrate, it's not worth it yet. So the moment I think Windows 11 is ready for average public consumption, I'll get IT to put it in for me. Guys, and then also the idea is opportunities to modify and improve. And the reality is that when late adopters catch up, normally what has happened is you've sorted out all the glitches, all the headachy things that your early adopters, those people ahead of the curve, have had to contend with. And then organizational culture, we've spoken about culture at length. It's reflected through the statement. That's the way we do things around here. I think we spoke about how Maritzburg College, that if I had to play 99 red balloons, pants would be dropping boys' pants would be dropping in the classroom. It's what Maritzburg College does. They don't have a choice. It's embedded in their DNA. We see organizational cultures such as those at Google really make a significant difference in terms of the work experience of individuals who are there, and also then adds real value from a competitive advantage perspective. So different organizations have different languages. Varsity College loves acronyms. They have an acronym for everything, whether it's ICE tasks or, sorry, I'm not very good with these acronyms, but everything is an acronym. My title is CPC. I don't know what it stands for. Folklores, these are stories about people that used to work at a particular institution. The other day, an ex-colleague of mine who works in Durban North now reminded me of a time where she was in my classroom and they double booked us, and I walked in and I put her over my shoulder and walked out of the classroom with her. Now those are the kinds of folklore things that create an impression and a culture of things, and unfortunately that is a true story. Having said this, it's 20 years ago. And yeah, mind you, I'm not much less of an idiot yet. And then heroes. These are those individuals that step up to the plate when there are disasters. These are the individuals that rush off when something is urgent and need to be delivered. They're the guys who drive all night to make sure that whatever needs to be delivered is at the client at a particular point in time. And those kinds of heroes that we talk about, you know, remember the day when. I always think of, and all of you have seen the movie Shawshank Redemption. My favorite part of Shawshank Redemption is when Andy escapes, but people then tell stories about him, and the stories take on a life of their own, and they become exaggerated about what he had done. Symbols and rituals, yeah, Google and all the colorful balls they have. Rituals, how do we celebrate successes? How do we celebrate birthdays? How do we mourn losses? Dress code, yeah, you cannot believe this, but my dress code officially at Varsity College, and I did say to Carmen that I'm putting a line through it, is I have to arrive in suit and tie every day. So formal wear with a tie, with a jacket, and I refuse to sign that part of my contract. I put a line through it. I don't think you guys need to see me in suit and tie every day. I find that quite ridiculous, actually. And office layout. Is it open plan? Is it lots of small offices where doors are closed? If we then look at what culture is, the SHINE definition has been around for a long time, and it's the sort of default definition of culture. The first thing, it's our assumptions, our basic assumptions about, and you can write this down, how things are done around here. So how do we do things around here? Those assumptions essentially are indicative of culture. So in my classes, I don't care too much about students arriving late. We work when we have to work, but we're always going to have fun. We're never going to take ourselves too seriously. I would imagine other lecturers have different guidelines. The truth is that it starts off with the founders. So when Google was founded, Larry Page and Sergey Brin went, what kind of organization would we like to work in? What would we consider to be the ideal organization? And on the basis of that, that's how they moved forward. And I always loved that story because they created an organization that themselves they would like to work in. And then, yeah, it really allows us to adapt in terms of external things. It allows us to adjust. It allows us to keep in step with the environment. And then, yeah, it becomes valid over time because through our socialization processes, and that's part of our new members, we embed those new members in the culture. We socialize them to understand and appreciate that we want these kinds of behaviors displayed. And then it also tells us to think, feel, and how we approach problems. And very important that if you have a positive culture, it is the kind of place that is welcoming, that employees want to be at. But we see companies with negative cultures as well. Guys, and then just the kinds of things that we need to align with strategy. First of all is to make sure that we align the organization and the goals with the culture. So we've got to make sure that our vision and mission and long-term objectives all talk to each other. But more importantly, that our value statement is not out of step with what is in that set of objectives. It also talks about the modern approach to business, that we move away from the ivory tower, I'm in charge of everything, to team-based, cross-cutting, where you have marketing people and finance people working together on the same team. It's not about keeping your boss happy. It's about managing processes that impress customers. And it's all about the strategic outcomes. It's all about the organization's vision. We also have transformational leadership. Transformational leadership, those individuals that are constantly looking to introduce changes, constantly looking to move the organization forward. And then, yeah, the ideas of interdependent departments. So you don't have finance working in isolation, with market working in isolation. You make those individuals work together. And then also you want to make sure that it is self-directed. Modern employees, especially when you employ talented people, want to be autonomous. They want to take charge of their lives at work. It also allows us to use rewards that link to embed the ideal culture. So we reward behaviors that are in line with the culture, and we punish behaviors that are out of step with the culture. And then, yeah, it's about constructive conflict. It's about, and constructive conflict is positive conflict. It has positive consequences. It is not about warfare, but it's about moving forward. It's dealing with issues as they arrive. And as I've said, if anyone ever says those words, they talk about organizational culture. That's the way we do things around here. So in terms of some of the organizational cultures, this is an interesting model. It's been around for a while. It talks about different organizational cultures, some good, some not so good. And you'll see that these cultures also essentially impact the success of an organization. So when we look at the focus, and I'm going to pick on a political party, the ANC is more concerned about internal harmony than looking after the interests of the electorate. Is that a fair comment to make? Zweli McKees is involved in serious fraud, but to maintain internal harmony, it is glossed over. Jacob Zuma should be in prison, but in order to maintain internal harmony, he is too ill to be in prison. External competitiveness are those organizations that focus on being the best. It's the Apples, it's the Googles, it's the Huaweis. The structure, modern structures, we want flexibility, but if you work in government, it's about control. It's about narrow rules, clearly defined job descriptions. Yeah, I like this. It's the means versus the ends. If we give employees a set of job descriptions and they work in terms of those job descriptions, we emphasize the means. Where in modern organizations, we will have the attitude, we want you to build this, we don't care how you make that happen. So the ends is what the focus is. It's not the process that you follow to get there. I cannot work in an organization like that. To me, I need to know what I must achieve. I have a clear sense of what I must achieve in terms of my pass rates, in terms of what I do at Varsity College, but do not tell me how to do it. I will make it happen because that is what talented and creative and intelligent people do. So the kinds of things that we have to realize when using this model is the first one, they're not discrete, but in essence, some companies lean more to control where others lean more to flexibility. Some companies lean more to means where others lean more to ends. I work in organizations and prefer organizations where the ends are emphasized. Don't tell me how to do my job. We also know that cultures evolve, and we see at the moment at Varsity College Pietermaritzburg how Eve is trying to embed a new culture. It's going to take a bit of time to change. Yeah, have a glance at how those different mechanisms translate into specific cultures. So here, flexibility, your more modern culture. Oh gosh, that wasn't a good idea. Your more modern culture, control, your more traditional structure, your more modern structure. Internal focus, it's about making sure that we have harmony. External focus is about making sure that we impress our customers. In the ideal world, you would want to work in which of those cultures? What would be your ideal working culture? For me, I prefer that. I don't like the idea of what to do. This is a bit more controlled because everything happens at the top. This is government, and you want to avoid government. This, this is clan culture, and it's the ANC, unfortunately. Right. And then in terms of values, and we've spoken about this, your value statement, the stated culture. Value binds, is the glue that binds an organization together. It shows us how customers should be treated. It gives us an indication of what our ideal behaviors are, how we view your contributions, how we view our employees as valuable. Yeah, and then the kinds of things that need to be in place for organizations to survive, in particular modern organizations. It's a bias for action. So it's not about meetings and talking, it's about making things happen. It is by being beyond close to the customer. It is understanding the customer's needs. It is the ability by being beyond close to your customer that you can create needs. It is about people who are talented and innovation being promoted through sort of internal entrepreneurship, and then productivity happens through people. So you have the best machines, etc., but what makes those machines fantastic are the people. and then obviously leaders walking the talk in terms of those values. Sticking to your knitting, and you've got to write this down, it is staying with your core business. So sticking to your knitting is staying with your core business. And then, yeah, simple form, not a massive structure, lean staff, not overburdened by people who sit around doing bugger all. And then we talk about loose and tight properties, lots of freedom to make decisions, but controls to make sure that we don't waste money on the wrong projects. Guys, my phone is going crazy because I've got a meeting that is starting in the next couple of minutes. Can I stop there and then finish next time? Do you mind if we do that? Let me just hold on a second. Let me just see how much I can. Okay, let me push through. I'll be late for the meeting. So we talk about the McKinsey 7S ideal organizational architecture. So what this is, it tells an organization that if you want to effectively implement your strategic plan, these are the non-negotiables of the organizational architecture. And you can see that it ties into what we've seen already. In terms of modern organizations, a flat, flexible structure, systems that promote policies and procedures and controls, the leadership style, the staff that we have in terms of competencies and knowledge, skills, and abilities, the skills and the strategy itself. So in terms of the 7S, you can have a glance at that if you don't mind. Oh, I was nearly finished anyway.